second one, you know, so the driver didn't go.
This is a commemoration of the veterans from this area who went off to the Korean War. And it's important that we do these things to remember the veterans and remember that freedom is not free.
Shouts of support boosted spirits as young golfers made their way around the green, driving, putting, and cheering for their peers.
Nice. Nice up, Jenna.
More than 30 members of the LPGA Girls Golf Club teed off at the final event of the summer. Carol Marshall started the club 6 years ago to fill a need in the Northland.
Every course has a junior golf program, but it's usually 50 to 60 boys and 3 or 4 girls, and after the first time the girls don't stay with the program. And I knew they needed a program where the girls were all together that was just for them.
It's a great program. You learn your different skills, you know, you get better and you get to golf with other girls, and it's really fun.
The club allows young girls to experience a sport some might otherwise never play, and they're encouraged to stick with the game.
Very nice.
Yeah, I saw it on TV and it looked fun. And it looked like you had to concentrate on it and stuff.
Well, I think the program, you know, keeps the girls interested in the game, and it builds, you know, competitiveness and improves on their skills greatly.
And these golfers aren't just learning the skills of the sport, they're also learning important lessons for life.
But we teach the girls to encourage each other, okay? It's a real good self-esteem builder. They're also learning a lot about self-management in the golf course and learning a lot about themselves.
In Duluth, Jana Katsuyama, News 6.
Mark Dayton, he'll take on the big drug companies who are overcharging Americans for
And it's just a crime that these drug
millions of dollars to help reduce class sizes, hire more teachers, and improve public education.
Running that ad, he's captured that issue. He ran those early. So now when other people start talking about health care, they already say, well, Dayton's already on that.
It's just a crime that these drug companies can prey on all of us, but especially our most vulnerable and medically dependent people, the elderly.
New York. Oh, wait a minute. Where's New York?
So dice. So 8 times $32. Get out of jail free. I'll hang on to that. Okay, go ahead, Peg. We'll just come back to me. On the money call. Keep it going.
Wells Fargo likes to be involved in worthy community events such as something like this, and I guess the kid in all of us made this especially appealing.
All right, he'll buy it. Yeah. Our family, please. That's 140. There's 107. And handcuffs.
All right. All right. Here is your citation. Location at the depot.
It was an annual event to come here and stay in these cabins, and most of these cabins do go back to the 1920s.
Steve Wesley has run hundreds of auctions, but none has come close to the interest his next one seems to be generating.
Back in the 80s and prior and so on, if you didn't have reservations, you weren't going to eat because it was always packed.
Former patrons have held dear those memories of dinner at the lodge or weekends at the resort, special times in their lives.
I even had one gentleman who was probably, I'm guessing in his 70s, asked about buying a cabin because he had his honeymoon in it.
The place has been idle since 1992, and the owner has since passed away, but the historic first resort in town still holds many of the same decorations it had decades ago. Old photos, fine china, the furniture, even the menus, all treasures that will go to the highest bidder.
Hart's was built just after the 1918 fire. In fact, this majestic white pine behind me is one of the last believed to be standing, surviving that blaze. The lodge itself could use a little bit of work, but auctioneer Steve Wesley is hoping that someone who decides to buy it will restore this piece of history.
And he's not alone. Bob Corbett first came to Hart's more than 30 years ago.
New Year's Eve was a riot in here in the big room with the fireplace. Almost, I presume, burned the place down a few fled, but it was fun. Yeah, good times.
There's a lot of memories here, and people have been very nostalgic, and they don't want to see this place close. They don't want to see it close and end. They would like to see it open up again. So would I.
With 500 feet of shoreline right on Moosehead Lake, the property is expected to sell quickly. As for the decor on the inside, Steve's not sure just how high prices will go. After all, it's hard to put a price tag on a trip back in time. Jason Rice, News 6.
Genuine concern for how she is doing and genuine embarrassment. At one point, Nikki actually got up and tried to run and was chased down and brought back. At some point during this incident, one of these guys indicated that they were just playing an effing game.
Every day, I mean, I've been in the news business for 25 years, and every day you cover it, and you're not part of it. And this is hard.
For editor Tom West and others at the Budgeteer newspaper, news of Nicole Whitkop's murder has brought out deep emotions.
Sad, alone, lost my friend. She's going to be very sadly missed.
Police and sheriff's deputies are still searching the woods near Lake Superior College, where Nicole's body was found on Tuesday afternoon. Her husband, 23-year-old Lawrence Whitkop, led police to the site. He was later arrested, and search warrants were executed at the couple's apartment in West Duluth. Autopsy results now show that Nicole was beaten and strangled to death. A horrible thought to those who remember the young, peppy girl from Council Bluffs, Iowa, smiling at her coworkers just a few days ago.
I think, you know, anybody here, if they could have done something to prevent this, they would have done it. Mm-hmm. And so it is a shock to believe that something like this could have happened. Every day, you know, I mean, I've been in the news business for 25 years, and every day you cover it, and you're not part of it. And this is hard.
For editor Tom West and others at the Budgeteer newspaper, news of Nicole Whitkop's murder has brought out deep emotions.
Sad, alone, lost my friend. She's going to be very sadly missed.
Police and sheriff's deputies are still searching the woods near Lake Superior College, where Nicole's body was found on Tuesday afternoon. Her husband, 23-year-old Lawrence Whitkop, led police to the site. He was later arrested, and search warrants were executed at the couple's apartment in West Duluth. Autopsy results now show that Nicole was beaten and strangled to death. A horrible thought to those who remember the young, peppy girl from Council Bluffs, Iowa, smiling at her coworkers just a few days ago.
I think, you know, anybody here, if they could have done something to prevent this, they would have done it. Mm-hmm. And so it is a shock to believe that something like this could have happened.
Friends and Duluth police only hope that Nicole's murderer will be brought to justice. In Duluth, Jana Katsuyama, News 6.
Last year we had about 25 in here about this time, and we have 50 now. Part of it is I have young troops working real hard, and but you would think that the word would get out, but it just doesn't get out, and then they're out there every night.
Let me see if this is going to fit you. Can you turn around so I can see?
If you're a parent, you probably have more back-to-school shopping experience than you'd like. Yep. Trudging aisle to aisle, hour after hour, to try and catch this year's fashion bug.
And the khaki skirts, jumpers, pants.
But a new school policy could soon take the bite out of back-to-school shopping for thousands of Northland parents.
We went and got it in one deal, an hour, and we were done.
This year, principals and pastors of Catholic elementary schools in Duluth and Proctor will require students K through 6 to wear uniforms like this: khaki pants or dresses with red, white, or blue polo-style shirts or sweaters.
There's a lot of research that is showing up that shows that schools who are using uniforms in their buildings that they have better performance, better attitude towards schooling.
St. James Elementary Principal Sharon Pristash believes the new policy will help students concentrate more on studies than style and hopefully give kids a better sense of equality.
Everybody will have the same type of clothing, the same style, the same value, so that somebody doesn't feel like they don't belong because they can't afford the latest fad in clothing.
For parents like Nancy Bushy, the change is a welcome one, saving her shopping time, money, and more importantly, her sanity.
I don't have to argue with anybody in the morning, and all I have to do is tell them this is your choice, put it on, and they don't really have anything to say about it.
For students like Abby Bushy, however, the new dress code isn't quite as welcome.
I don't really like them.
Despite some objections, the school year continues to race closer, forcing students to learn one of the most important lessons in life. You can't always do what you like. Sometimes you have to learn to like what you do. In Duluth, Craig Zleeman, News 6.
Make sure I have everything. Thank you. Thanks for your help.
Legal advocates. These are the people that are going to inhabit
Kind of thing where I like to look in.
Yeah.
You?
Talk to me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's just wondering if she should talk.
Well, the whole mission of this organization and the work that the people do for this organization is not only to provide services for women who are in domestic relationships, but to end violence against women. And so every time we hear of one more tragedy, it motivates us to do more and to get the word out so that doesn't happen.
It looked more like a demolition yard than a freeway. 3 piles of crushed metal lay frozen in a ditch, crushed by the impact of this Federal Express truck. 4 people injured, a state trooper killed.
He loved to hunt and fish, Star Trek addict, very family-oriented person. Good, as much as he was a good trooper, he was an even better person.
Investigators say the trooper pulled to the side of the road for a routine traffic stop when a semi barreled directly into both vehicles. A grim reminder of just how dangerous a road can be, especially during one of the busiest travel holidays of the year. State troopers now extra cautious, asking Labor Day travelers to slow down and use caution when on the road.
When I see red lights in the shoulder, please move to the left or move away from us and give us some room to work, because you never know what we're doing there. And 1 minute we may be standing on the shoulder, and the next minute we may be wrestling in the lane of traffic. So move over, slow down, and just give us some room. That's all we ask.
Last year, 348 motorists were injured and 7 killed over Labor Day weekend alone. Troopers also made 195 drunk driving arrests, up 95 from the year before.
If you've got a friend of yours that's going to get in a car and drive drunk, the best thing you can do as that person's friend is to take the keys away and don't let them drive.
So what can you do to stay safe this weekend? Authorities say slow down. Most accidents are speed related. And avoid road rage. Anger can lead to poor decision making on the road, and you probably aren't going to get there any faster anyway. Finally, drive for the weather conditions. And always wear your seatbelt.
The odds are with you when you wear your seatbelt, and the odds are stacked heavily against you when you don't wear your seatbelt.
While travelers can still beat the odds, state troopers aren't so lucky. Their badge is now dulled by a haunting black band. A painful reminder that they'll serve this dangerous holiday one squad short. In Duluth, Craig Zleeman, News 6.
When Russia's economy went into a tailspin, thousands of parents found they could no longer afford to feed their children. Some of those children ended up on the streets. The lucky ones found their way to an orphanage like this one in Petrozavodsk. Children's House No. 1 is home to nearly 100 youngsters. For nearly 2 decades, this house was the only orphanage needed in the city. But after the economic crash, a flood of abandoned children forced authorities to open several boarded-up kindergartens and press gang them into duty as temporary orphanages. The street children rushed these new centers.
As soon as they got to know that there is a place where anyone who does not have a place to live can come, so one came, then took another, and so they came here in the crowd.
Since it opened 2 years ago, workers at House No. 3 have focused on the very basics: food, shelter, and health care. The focus is now expanded to include schooling.
And these are the results that they get at school. Their grades? Yeah, the grades.
Education has always been a top priority here at the city's first orphanage. Along with their schooling, these children are taught cooking, cleaning, and sewing. Their products are sold to visitors like Mayor Gary Doty and wife Marcia.
Can I buy all of them?
Можно все купить?
Okay, I want to buy. We want to buy all of them.
Все, пожалуйста.
Oh, you can buy that. You buy what you want. We'll buy the rest.
The children keep half the money. The rest is used to buy sewing supplies. This tiny sewing business is building self-esteem and providing useful skills. The Dotys traveled to Russia earlier this summer with money raised in a Northland penny drive to help our sisters' children. News 6 went with them.
And the residents of not only the city of Duluth, but of people around the area wanted to help, and we collected some money to be able to purchase goods for the kids.
Поэтому, наверное, пользуясь случаем, что мы с вами встретились.
I'm really glad to have the opportunity to thank myself in person, all Duluthians who volunteered and helped out with their little pennies, because they are going to do a great change.
Спасибо большое.
Thank you very much.
You're certainly welcome.
Спасибо.
A heavy-duty washing machine was a priority at House 1. The laundress believes a modern machine with a gentle cycle will increase the lifespan of the children's clothing.
This is more powerful.
Okay, are there some that are more like commercial?
In a good month, a store in Petrozavodsk might sell one large appliance. In just one visit to this store, the Duluth delegation bought a washing machine and thousands of dollars worth of shoes and clothing. The clothing would be delivered. The washer came with us. Our shopping list also included 2 computerized sewing machines. The machines will allow the children to embroider and create appliques. These were also carried to our van. Next-day delivery wouldn't do. After waiting years to get her new appliances, the director of House 1 couldn't wait. Emotions were running high at the orphanage as the director unpacked the gifts.
Miracle.
The new appliances won't replace all of the orphanage's antiquated machines, but they will bring one small student-operated sewing business out of the dark ages and into the 21st century.
Auch wenn es nicht so aussieht, mit großen Entfernungen benutzen Sie nach Möglichkeit den Skywalk.
An unusual sound to accompany a ship's arrival into the Twin Ports. But this isn't your typical ship. Duluth is a favorite stop for the German cruise liner Columbus, both for the passengers
Herr weiß genau, wo alles ist. Ich bin nicht aus Duluth.
and the welcoming committee, translators to give directions, and other curious Northlanders.
Oh, no, we can't go up there to say hi to everybody coming down.
This has gotten to be a fall tradition for us. We love having the Columbus come.
The Germans say they enjoy the friendly welcome.
Ich freue mich, hier in Duluth zu sein.
It's Michael Bühlig's first time in Duluth. He says traveling by ship on the Great Lakes is a fun and unusual way to see this country.
Most of the Germans are going to Florida, to California, to New Orleans, to New York, of course, to Washington. But in this part of America, it's new for us.
Böllig is traveling in style. Passengers enjoy a posh dining room and elaborate meals.
They take the order upstairs, they pick up the things down here in the main galley, and then with the escalator up, they go up again and serve the meals.
Workers in the galley are cooking for nearly 400 passengers and 200 crew members. And after dinner, guests relax with music and a drink in a colorful lounge.
So this is a ship, it's actually not typically German, so it has a little bit, to my opinion, it has a little bit Italian touch.
Even though it's the ship's 4th season in Duluth, the captain says it still draws a lot of attention.
When we go to Miami, we are always the smallest ship in port. Nobody's even looking at us. So we enjoy it.
Kids haven't showed up anywhere.
Underdog Senate candidate and Chisholm bar owner Jerry Janizich was met with cheers today at a Rose Garden political rally as he and Senator Paul Wellstone teamed up for a last-minute grassroots campaign to win over Northland voters.
We need to get some literature out.
Our message is please talk to neighbors, please get everybody out.
It's about making sure that somebody you know goes to vote, and they grab somebody, and they go to vote, and ultimately, we have enough.
Recent polls put Janizich running third behind Mark Dayton and Mike Cerisi, who have spent millions in high-priced political ads, pushing issues like healthcare reform and lower prescription drug prices, a deficit Janizich hopes will shrink as his grassroots campaign kicks into overdrive.
We can beat money. You can beat money. But you have to vote, and that's the only way you get it done.
To make sure his promises of more funding for education and lower prescription drug prices get out before Tuesday's primary, dozens of volunteers will go door to door, delivering truckloads of campaign literature and yard signs.
I'm going to go get some of that literature and hand that out.
Grassroots politics. This was the last time we won with it.
What do you refer to me as this?
After I win, it'll be this and that.
Okay, that's better. This and that. This and that.
Although confident his months of hard work will pay off, Janizich expects the next few days will be rough as he waits to see if his grassroots will remain anchored inside the ballot box. In Duluth, Craig Zleeman, News 6.
You know, really, I think he's trying to get rid of us. The bathroom doorknob.
Today, okay?
Desperate Affection is a dark comedy by Bruce Graham, and it's about
a New York City actress who falls in love with what she thinks is a security consultant, but who in fact turns out to be a hitman.
Around his ankles. Camille and the others just think I'm a nut, but I said that all male choreographers.
You have more fun than I did.
Oh, wait till you hear this one. Camille and a bunch of us go to see As You Like It. The woman playing Rosalind was terrible. I auditioned for that part and I should have had it. Anyhow, as we're leaving the theater and we're walking down the street, we're on 52nd, all of a sudden this guy jumps out of a doorway.
Came down and was full of flames, but at least the structure stood. I give a lot of credit to the Cherry and Clinton, fire department. You guys did a great job. It's everything we got. And it's really hard to think that somebody would do this to us, but we'll survive. We'll get through it. There's a lot of support here.
You will hear some evidence about money, but anytime money was said by Mr. Teese, he was drunk and he was not telling the truth to these guys. He was trying to get them the help because he was threatened to be killed. Now, on the 23rd, Teese walked away from the recovery center, I believe. Is your truck? Do you want to help? Sergeant also.
We met in law school. We were classmates together and had mutual friends.
What brought you to security?
After I really worked up about this trial coming up and trying to decide how I was going to balance
30 minutes for a kind of drive.
And then you take the casting up from the ground. Also a patrol officer, or are you just totally an evidence technician in security?
It's a collateral assignment, so I'm
What does that mean?
both. That means, yeah,
You go to school and take various tests to become an evidence technician?
it's on a voluntary 15, 16, 17, 18.
Time that you were with him, up until I believe you testified January or early '99, you were aware that he was transporting
I just want you to know, if you've ever lost a child, one of my goals, what I share, is to help in some small way to bring some closure to your loss.
Daryl Scott is on a mission. His daughter was among 12 students gunned down at Colorado's Columbine massacre last April. Rachel Scott was deliberately shot and wounded, then picked up by her hair and told to deny her religious faith. Rachel refused and was shot in the head. Now, Daryl travels around the country, using his daughter's own words to share her legacy of peace and goodwill.
Part of what she wrote was these words: compassion is the greatest form of love humans have to offer. My definition of compassion is to forgive, to love, to help, and to show mercy to others.
In front of an overfilled auditorium at Duluth's Denfeld High School, Daryl Scott shares a simple message of hope.
We just simply challenge young people not to let the deaths of these young people be in vain, but to make a difference through acts of kindness.
I think that kids are really looking for a hope and just something that they can believe in.
Daryl fears kids aren't getting enough guidance at home. He believes poor parenting, the banning of prayer in school, and violence in the media pushed Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold to madness.
They weren't monsters. They were young men who had influences in their lives that they gravitated a certain direction, and it could have been prevented.
But he says prevention takes more than legislation and limiting freedoms.
When I spoke before a House Judiciary Committee, I challenged them to look deeper than gun control and look deeper than turning our schools into prisons, because to me that was slapping a Band-Aid on a deep gaping wound.
But is Daryl's message getting across? He says yes. In just 1 year, he knows of at least 2 instances where potential disaster was narrowly averted.
Young people who came to the meeting had intentions of doing something to their schools, and because of the meeting, later we found out that they changed their heart, changed their mind on those issues. So that makes it worthwhile.
In the end, Daryl knows the fight for peace will be long and difficult, but he believes the mission Rachel started just over a year ago is anything but impossible.
I believe in this generation. I believe in the young people, and I believe that given the right influences, they're going to make a huge positive difference.
In Duluth, Craig Zleman, News 6.
He told me that I had to do this job, and if I didn't, that that I would be killed or one of my family members.
On the stand, 27-year-old Harlan Schwartz broke into tears, testifying that he and the other defendant, Bill Teese, were afraid of threats made by gang leader Alejandro Rivera. Schwartz says that's why they didn't tell police, and that was the reason they tried to burn down District Attorney Dan Blank's garage and home. Both Schwartz and Teese deny they did it for Rivera's money.
You expect you were going to get any sort of reward or payment or money for doing that?
No. The reward was me not being killed and my family not being hurt.
Meanwhile, prosecutors have been building their case that Schwartz and Teese were in no imminent danger, and they did the firebombing for money. Now, with the defendant's testimony complete, closing arguments are expected, and then it will be up to the jury to decide. In Superior, Jana Katsuyama, News 6.
The key overall overriding dispute is whether or not this was being done for money, whether or not the garage was burned for money, whether or not the house was burned for money.
Okay, they're going to see an incredible example of virtuosity among three brothers who haven't lived close to each other for 20 years and haven't exhibited together for 20 years, and yet they've each pursued their own direction in art. And the work is really different. Martin DeWitt, who's the director of the Tweed Museum of Art, does abstract work with acrylics, and his pieces are big, and he pours the paint on there, and it's thick, and it's really luscious, you know. His brother Michael is an architect, and of course he does completely the opposite, very careful using lines, you know. And but he has some wonderful paintings, watercolors of scenes in streets and architectural type, building type paintings and drawings. And then the third brother is an artist himself too, and he has acrylic paintings of a completely different style as well. So the whole experience will be a visual feast, and should be a lot of fun.
Do you come from a land down under, where women glow, men plunder? Can't you hear the thunder? I have a great relationship with that song, and that song and I look after each other very well.
The unofficial anthem of Australia, Down Under, is about to be performed to its biggest audience yet, 3 billion people, in Sunday's Olympic closing ceremony.
Because I come from the land of plenty.
It must have been cool when they called up and said, hey, we want you for the closing ceremony.
Well, yeah, I was actually starting to get a bit worried, you know, because it wasn't really that long ago that they called, you know. I was starting to get a little bit sulky.
Like you've been forgotten?
Yeah, I was getting a little bit petulant.
Colin Hay couldn't be forgotten here. Even as we do the interview on the streets of the Olympic City, bystanders start singing the song.
Go on. Go on, sing the chorus, go on.
Thunder! You better run, you better take cover!
This must be Sydney. Like many of the other Aussie Olympic performers, Olivia Newton-John, Paul Hogan and Al McPherson, Hay spends more time in the States than Australia.
I just found myself there, and I found myself making records there, and I enjoyed it, and I'm just kind of still there. But I suppose in the back of my mind, I always think that I'll come back here.
For now, Hay is here, enjoying the game spirit and singing aptly themed new songs.
Yeah, this is as good as it gets. So my, it's a beautiful world. I like sleeping with Marie. I like sleeping with Marie.
Gag you for NBC News.
My, it's a beautiful world. I like sleeping with. Well, women glow, men plunder. Can't you hear the thunder?
I have a great relationship with that song, and that song and I look after each other very well.
Many of these firefighters spent the summer battling wildfires out west, but here in the Superior National Forest, they're setting the fires instead of just putting them out. They're starting a prescribed burn after checking the flames of a test patch.
It's looking like it could be a good day.
Crews get to work, setting 250 acres on fire near Greenwood Lake, about 15 miles up the Gunflint Trail. Fire rains down on the forest as a helicopter doubles as a flamethrower, and about 20 firefighters work on the ground. The conditions are finally right to burn off downed timber left over from a windstorm in 1992.
So we have a window now. We haven't for a while. It's been a wet summer.
Foresters want to reduce the fire hazard posed by acres of dried out wood, only a small part of the threat that looms over the Boundary Waters and the Gunflint after the much more massive blowdown last summer.
If we can light a fire and control a fire in our own terms with our own weather conditions, and we're available, we have plenty of people here to help out, then it's a much safer thing to do.
We're gonna try to get this east flank fried off as fast as we can, so we can get some heat into the middle, get the helitorch up, and get some fire in the middle to pull it together.
They started burning this old blowdown area last year, but couldn't finish after the July 4th storms hit. Now this has become a good run-through for other top priority burns this fall.
Managers in the Gunflint district have plans in the works for about 6 prescribed burns like this one yet this year to work on the 1999 blowdown. But they say those are going to be much more work than this fire.
So this is a little bit easier because we have a nice dry fuel, and it's a lot easier to get all this fuel consumed, so it reduces the hazard.
Fire crews say they'd rather do some work now than respond to wildfires later. Up the Gunflint, Kim Kaiser, News 6.
The differences and similarity of Lake Superior and Lake Baikal, because our museum has a very similar mission to Great Lakes Aquarium, and when I'm back next spring we are going to open a sort of small exhibit dedicated to Lake Superior, like a sister lake of Lake Baikal.
We only walk about 3.5 blocks, but I think what all of us are noticing that it takes up a good part of your day just to have to be around to come back and forth. So it's a big difference than having a bus come to your house.
And if you come in and if there's some time that you want to stop down to the office, I can.
I know how important it is to provide jobs here, to provide the recreational opportunities, snowmobiles and the like throughout the region, to stand up for gun owners' rights so people know that I'm a bona fide statewide Democrat, not some city slicker down there who doesn't understand northern Minnesota.
So most of them already come in? Well, no, actually the 3 o'clock guys will be coming in now.
They'll come at 3 o'clock. Okay.
for so many years there's been so much disharmony amongst people as to what should really be taking place down here, and it's finally together.
After nearly 25 years of controversy, the fate of Duluth's Bayfront has finally been decided. This 11-acre plot next to the Great Lakes Aquarium will soon be home to a $3.8 million festival park, complete with a permanent stage, greenways, hike and bike trails, and one very happy mayor.
We're going to have a place we'll have some nice acoustics, a nice stage, nice sight lines, a beautiful park, a place to enjoy not only concerts but enjoy the beauty of Lake Superior.
And there's more good news for taxpayers. Duluth native Lois Palucci has donated $3 million to fund the project, leaving the city to raise the remaining $800,000 through a combination of state and federal grants and city bonding.
We get $3 million from somebody and we have to put in $400,000 or $500,000. I think the citizens of Duluth have gotten a good deal.
After a quarter-century of fighting, it seems the battle over our beloved Bayfront is finally over. In Duluth, Craig Zleeman, News 6.
Good morning, Salvation Army.
It's been a busy time lately at the Salvation Army. As the weather gets colder, more people are turning to the agency to help with heating costs.
At this point, it's getting really cold outside. It starts getting cold around September. Fuel assistance doesn't start taking applications until October. The funding usually isn't released till the end of October, sometime in November. And people can't wait that long for their fuel.
Heat Share is a utility-sponsored program that provides assistance before LIHEAP or federal funds kick in. It also helps after the federal money runs out, a situation Nancy Polonio was in last year.
It just really helped, just to get over that hump of, it is still cold and it was in the spring, and the fuel assistance was used up and this really helped.
Funds come from customers who mark off donations and bills issued this past cycle. Minnesota Power will be collecting its Heat Share money from bills September 18th through October 16th. The money helps families that couldn't keep up with monthly payments.
And this comes in handy because you can't afford to pay it all at once. But if this program helps us, it's good.
And this year, it will be more critical than ever. With natural gas and fuel oil prices sky high, families will be forced to choose between heat for their homes and food and medical care for their children. In Duluth, Maureen Tallarico, News 6. This class at the College of St. Scholastica is learning care techniques in the Skills Lab. CSS offers its students a 4-year baccalaureate degree in nursing. And even though it is nationally recognized, the program could use more students.
So we're looking at creative ways to bring people into the program to entice them to become a nurse. And one of those ways, I guess, that we do that is to just show them what nursing is all about and what nurses can do.
But with a job that pays well and offers many different options, why is there a shortage? Experts cite changing healthcare management, an aging population, and low unemployment. In the Northland, the shortage is most felt in long-term care.
Certainly long-term care is hurting regionally. Northland, rural communities often feel the shortage before Duluth would feel the shortage.
SMDC, a major medical center in the Northland, currently has 194 RN positions open and more than 100 LPN openings. The medical center tries to keep an extremely low nurse-to-patient ratio to maximize quality care. But it's not just medical institutions feeling the pinch. Mental health care providers have noted the shortage.
We have been able to maintain our nursing coverage, but we're always looking for nurses. We not only use nurses here, but also in some of the other community outreach positions, and it is hard to maintain them on a regular basis.
And the problem is not expected to get better anytime soon. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics says RN employment will grow faster than all other occupations by the year 2008. In Duluth, Maureen Tallarico, News 6.
On the back of your program is a listing of some other campaigns to look forward to as they come in the next several weeks. So we're early to be the office point person, and
we have 2 units and the announcer was 1,300. Our first speaker, yes.
I think it's too early to tell. I can say that we have gotten calls on both sides where people are either withdrawing their funds from United Way or they are in support of United Way. It's really a personal issue that people are holding very close to their hearts.
So you can have it turn.
They will be in person.
Okay. 0CM433. This document is in a public place engaged in violent, abusive, profane, boisterous, unreasonably loud, or otherwise. Again, the pretrial conference is your opportunity to meet with the representative from the district attorney's office, discuss the things, see if you can get this thing resolved. The status conference is the next time you'll need to appear in court in front of Judge Lucci in the courtroom next to this one. Need to be scheduled for Friday. The clerk has prepared a notice. It gives you the days, times, locations for each of those conferences. If you want to sign the notice.
As my exact DNA. I am one person and there is no one exactly like me. And the same goes for each of you. You're special, you're significant.
One of the most important parts of this vigil, one of the most important aspects of this vigil is for us to consider and review that part of our lives where we might be less than civil to one another.
That's going to mean coming to vigils. It's going to mean showing up on beautiful nights that we'd otherwise like to be doing something else.
This is, you know, like eating. You can see we pulled up a piece of shale.
We have a problem, evidently, that not only survived, but they are reduced. And so this is going to bear some very serious watching in the population. We have never seen this before. All over the rope and the outside chambers, everywhere. These are all.
All along I-35, you see signs of development, except for along this exit, the Thompson exit, where the only development is the Esco Little store.
Like if they built a big restaurant and hotel or something across the street, that would help business. That would help my business a lot because, you know, it would bring more people. But I think that's what it would take just by passing the liquor. And, you know, I don't think without added businesses it would do anything.
Thompson Township has been dry for years. Residents say once a dance hall in the 1940s was allowed to serve liquor. But in recent times, residents who wish to imbibe have to cross township lines.
Yes, we've had 3 and 4 generations. I have grown-up men that come in with their little kids, remember getting suckers when they were kids. We give suckers to all the kids.
To increase the township's tax base, some people say it's time to repeal the dry law and allow more development. But will that sacrifice the charm of the small Finnish community that makes up the majority of Thompson's 4,400 population, and turn it into what some residents fear as a den of sin? It's an issue Township Chair Marv Bodie is familiar with.
Currently, most of our taxes are collected through property taxes on homeowners.
and we're looking to expand that to some commercial, light industrial, possibly some tourism type business, and try share the load of the tax burden, and that's a lot of where it's come from.
If approved, more questions will have to be answered about where to zone and whether to allow on-sale or off-sale licenses. In Thompson Township, Maureen Tallarico, News 6.
Actually, it was something that I had asked Mark Winston. The ordinance as it's put together says smoking on any city property, which I know is not reasonable and not enforceable. But I wanted to start with putting everything on the table and then get together a task force to talk about what really it is that I think needs to happen. President of the League of Minnesota Cities, so I go out there on this for. Actually, it was something that I had asked Mark Winston for me to do well before this whole smoking.
I hear Boston, from what Mike tells me, and I've never been to Boston, but he's been there a couple times with the city, and he says Boston has the worst driving. It's the worst city.
I'm just saying, not you, Senator.
Another hot debate tonight between U.S. Senate candidates Rod Grams, Mark Dayton, and James Gibson, responding to issues like gun control, abortion, and gay rights. Of particular concern, should gay marriages be legal in Minnesota? Both Mark Dayton and James Gibson say yes.
Founding principle of this country is that all men and women are created equal, and they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, among these life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And in that context, I believe that civil unions should be permitted.
I believe I've taken the position that this is a civil rights issue and we ought to treat it as such, so I would support civil union legislation.
Incumbent Senator Rod Grams disagreed, saying he supported gay rights but not a legal union between couples.
I don't support, marriage vows between gays or lesbians or homosexuals. I think marriage is a sanctity between a man and a woman.
Also at issue tonight, the battle over a woman's right to choose. While both Mark Dayton and James Gibson support abortion rights, Rod Grams disagrees.
Do you believe there is a fundamental right to an abortion in the Constitution?
I haven't supported that, and according to the law now, that is what Roe v. Wade has put on the books, and I, as you know, happen to disagree with that.
And the question of gun control, raised by an 11-year-old child. What will candidates do to keep guns out of schools? Both Grams and Gibson want more enforcement of current laws. Mark Dayton wants to see new, stronger federal legislation.
You're making federal law that apply to all states, and I would want every school child in America, Minnesota or other state, to have that federal protection.
Finally, the only issue both Dayton and Grams agreed on, stopping the push to legalize marijuana. They fear legalizing the drug could lead to more crime or act as a gateway drug to other use. James Gibson says not true.
I've simply come to the conclusion that the negative consequences of the law are greater than the negative consequences of the drug. And I do not believe that by decriminalizing it, usage would increase to any measurable extent.
Despite vast differences in views, polls between Mark Dayton and Rod Grams are nearly tied and expected to remain that way until voters hit the polls on November 7th. Craig Zleeman, News 6.